So, hello everyone. We are live, and we are live with someone so special. I've been looking forward to speak with our guest tonight. She's Claude Silver, the first ever Chief Heart Officer. I've heard so many things about her, but now we have her with us. Claude, welcome. Not to Portugal, welcome to everywhere.
Thank you. It's so good to be here, and thank you for having me today.
No, it's my pleasure. And first of all, I have to tell you that some people have told me that, oh, this chief heart officer is such a millennial thing, but it's not.
I have a lot of gray hair, so you can see that it's not a millennial thing. No, I think it's an everything thing. I think it's for everyone. Everyone.
How did this came up?
I work with a wonderful CEO named Gary Vaynerchuk. And he is a visionary when it really comes to putting people first. And we had been working together for about 16 months. I told him I was done. I was finished. I was no longer interested in advertising. And he asked me what I was interested in. And I told him I really only care about people. I care about the heartbeat of the agency. And within a few months, we had created this role to scale him and to infuse the agency and everyone in it with empathy and to make sure that my finger was on the pulse of the human beings.
Yeah, nobody knows who Gary V is, but everyone wants to know who Claude really is. And I've done a little bit research about your work and about you. And one thing came up that really inspired me and really made me question and think a lot about stuff in general and people, because I love working with people. And I also think that working with people is the biggest challenge of all in organizations, in companies, which is you have something in your room which says, how can I light someone else's day up? And that sums it all up.
Yeah. For me, everything comes down to how can I be of service? And not only how can I be of service, but how can I leave you feeling better, feeling more inspired, feeling brighter, feeling like you can fly? How can I leave you feeling better than you did before I saw you? And you know the poet Maya Angelou?
Yeah.
People will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Period.
Yeah.
And so how can I light your day up? How can I light your day up? And that's my question to other people as they are leading. How can you make their lives better?
And how do you scale that up? Because you're working with more than 700 people, almost 800 people on a daily basis. How do you scale that up?
Well, I talk to a lot of people during the day. Now, while we're all working from home, I'm talking to people on Zoom all day. And, I hope that my energy is infused into all of these other people. So first and foremost, it's how I conduct myself. I also have I also have a team that I've trained to scale myself as well. And there are many people that I work with now that are what I call culture champions. They have their day job, but they care so much about people, just like you, just like me. And they want to, they want to be part of the solution. So that also scales me. And then of course, technology, Slack, ensuring I'm accessible and available 24/7, and that I'm also sharing with Gary, our CEO, what's going on, so he can be aware too.
That's a huge responsibility, because when you came back to VaynerMedia, you were announced as Gary said that we want to build the best human empire in the history of time. That's a huge responsibility.
It is, and it means I will never be finished. I will never, ever be complete with this job. It's human beings, as we said, and it's, humans we're fluid, we're messy, we're emotional, we're strong, all of the above. So, but we want to create the best human empire, the largest, the greatest human empire of all time. And I want to make VaynerMedia the best career choice of our employee, that they go, yes, this is where, yes, oh gosh, in 20 years, they look back and they say, those 7 years, those 10 years, those 5 years I spent at VaynerMedia, that was it. That was it.
There's a inevitable question to ask you, which is, how do you marry the hustle and the heart? Because VaynerMedia has always been associated with Gary, which is hustle, hustle, hustle. We always see Gary hustling. And how do you come back to VaynerMedia and bring the heart and can combine this? How do you do it? How do you?
Well, it's a delicate balance, because I would never want anyone to feel like they have to be like Gary, because they don't. They have to be themselves. And so making sure that people know that we are people first, and then the profit or the process. I would say we're 51% people, 49% the business, and like that's almost equal, but just that much more of the people. And really the emphasis that I'm putting on people every single day in terms of bringing empathy to them, bringing understanding, teaching them life skills and self-awareness. I think they really get the idea that this is what we really care about. And of course, we want to be successful, of course, but we have to put our people first in order to get authentic, genuine success today. Authentic success.
Yeah, that's true. I would like to go a step back, because you always wanted to work with people. That's something that you always knew. But there was a process along your career. Would you like to share it with us?
Yes, thank you. Yes. So I did, I wanted to be a psychotherapist for a very long time, because I really believe in people. I love people. I said to you earlier, there's a messiness to people. We're messy, we're beautiful, we're vibrant, we're emotional. And I was going to school to get that degree, and I was in San Francisco a long time ago, 1998. And I got a job offer to go work in Silicon Valley. And I had to make that decision. Was I going to pursue the education, or was I going to learn something completely different, which is digital? And I decided that as long as I stayed true to who I was, meaning caring about people, I could go do anything, because I wasn't going to change. And so there I went into a very different field. I had no education, and I knew nothing about advertising or digital marketing. And, the greatest things started to happen. Not only was I getting educated, but I was able to continue to be a coach and a champion and mentor So it was, it was a win-win that I'm extremely grateful for.
In fact, when you left VaynerMedia, that was one of your paths. You wanted to build your own practice on coaching.
Yes, I did. Yes. And the beautiful thing is I'm able to do that now here.
Yeah.
So I've been at Vayner now 6 years, and 4 of those years as a chief heart officer. So I'm able to use every tool in my bag every single day to create this culture of collaboration and of connection and belonging, and today more than ever, we need it more than ever.
It's true. Well, I have a question for you, and then I'll come back with a couple of more remarks. But this one comes from Francisco. Francisco is a LinkedIn. Is watching on LinkedIn. Welcome, Francisco. Thank you for watching. And he asks you regarding the 4Ds. I've heard Gary say that your session alone is worth the fee. What are the biggest takeaways you want people to leave your session with? This is a hard question.
I never knew that. So thank you, Frank. The biggest, such a good question. The biggest takeaway I want people to leave that session with is that change starts now, not tomorrow, not in a week. But anything I'm sharing, you can do now. And what I know about humans is that listening is the most important thing we can do for our fellow human. But on top of listening, it's taking action. It's doing something. So change starts now. Listen to what your people are saying. What is it? What do they need from you? And then do it.
Yeah, because you were saying back a couple of minutes ago that you spend your whole day talking to people, but the truth is you spend your whole day listening to people.
Whole day. Almost the whole day. until I have something to say.
Yeah.
Until I have something to say. And I don't ever want to speak for the sake of speaking, and I don't ever want to speak and take someone else's airtime away. Because as a leader, and I say this a lot, I'm there to turn them into a hero and them into a champion. It's not about me anymore. It was about me. I was one of those people growing and climbing the ladder and doing these things. And now I feel very comfortable and confident in where I am today. I just want to provide, help someone get from point A to point, Z.
Yeah. How do you see organizations and companies when you say these things? Because this is so obvious, so simple, so common sense that sometimes when we speak with other leaders, they say, "Okay, that's so nice, but we have numbers and profits and revenues to."
Yeah.
How do you see other companies and other leaders that are not doing this and are not caring with these things?
I don't think they will last that much longer because of where we are in the macrocosm right now with COVID and what it's done to all of us. We're all working from home, all of us.
Yeah.
We're all behind, we're all behind this screen, and we all need to lean in that much more to connect with one another and to be vulnerable with one another. And if those people want to retain the top talent, they are going to have to get on board. They are. I mean, this world in some way, shape, or form is going through a massive reset right now. We've all had to look at cost-cutting activities, restructuring, layoffs, all of those things.
Yeah.
Now I think we're out of the triage of it all. And now we're into some kind of maintenance. So let's not forget our people. Let's not forget how important it is to lean in to this workforce that is keeping us afloat, right? There's no wizard behind the curtain who's doing all the work. It's the human beings. So let's be human. And I get it. I get it that some CEOs or some business people are blah 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 blah. But, talk to me in 2 years when you don't have top talent and they've gone someplace else.
Yeah. And do you think this has something to do also with us keeping calling HR human resources? Because this is so old-fashioned, so nothing related to human beings, as you call it.
Yeah. Well, my feelings on that.
Yeah.
So I changed the name to People and Experience. So my team is PET, People and Experience team. Because that's what we're doing. We are taking care of the people and the experience they have for as long as they're with us. And by the way, even after they leave us, there's our ecosystem, So the what was my train of thought? I appreciate everyone that has been in this world of HR because, by the way, I believe they were forced into having to be on the defense and protecting the company, right?
Right.
Forced. But in fact, instead of protecting the company, trust your people. Then you don't need to protect the company. Trust your people, bring them in so that you're all being proactive in terms of how to create the best culture in the world. How to create what Gary says. We want to create the greatest human organization of all time. You have to trust people in order to let them do that.
Do you agree that that's probably the most difficult thing to create trust, because we are so used to ask people to trust us before give them trust?
Yeah, that's backwards.
Yeah. It's completely backwards.
It makes no sense. So let's talk about why we don't trust. Because we are controlling, because we're afraid. And we forget, this is the thing that is fundamentally broken for me. I'm a human being. I know I want to be trusted. I know I want autonomy. I know I don't want you to micromanage me. But then all of a sudden I go into work and I'm a boss that micromanages and I'm a boss that doesn't give you any autonomy. I don't understand the disconnect. We're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same. So what I want, you want. Fundamentally, yeah? Fundamentally.
It's true. Yeah, and what's completely ridiculous is that even now we're living this pandemic and we're seeing people working remotely and their managers are micromanaging. But on the other hand, they are saying, no, my people are all at home working remotely. But do you trust them? No, I do.
Yeah, I know. It's a reboot. We need a reboot. But I think we need a reboot here. I think this is where the reboot needs to happen. This only works up to a certain point, and then this kicks in. And so I firmly believe that the more we can be balanced between here and here, we're going to be in much better shape.
Claude, we have a lot of people asking for you to come to Portugal.
Okay.
And I have another question from LinkedIn to you, from Gonçalo. Gonçalo, good evening, how are you? He asks you, what were the principal key points to create VaynerMedia's culture?
Thank you very much. Obrigado. Obrigada. The principles are, I would say, our guiding principles are empathy, possibility and entrepreneurship, patience, trust, and humility. we really, really believe in our people. That's all I can say, because you give them those things, and you walk the walk. You don't just talk the talk. Success will happen. Success will happen. You have to train your people. You have to continuously show up as all of those things, but you'll get there. You have to walk your walk as a leader.
Yeah, that's true. And if you don't have the example coming from above, the culture will fall apart eventually. Yeah.
So the question you asked, that's something Gary did way before I came aboard. He, a long time ago, 11 years ago, said, we are going to be a people first culture. And then he just continued to walk his walk. It wasn't until I came in and started to say, okay, this is what that means. This is what that means. And he says it as well. And so it has to come from the top. And then what happens is everyone on the ground and the sides cultivate it, bring their own essence in, bring their own ingredient in, bring their own uniqueness in. And then it becomes this wonderful soup.
Yeah, but it takes time. People need to understand that this takes time. This is not a one-shot thing. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Marathon. And a marathon, not only does a marathon take time, you get tired. You sweat. It's not always pretty.
Yeah.
But the end result is that it will pay off.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. True. I have another question here, or it's a comment, but I was going there too. Tony is telling that I love the concept of still caring about the people that already left the company. This is really important because people who are leaving the company, they can still be advocates and ambassadors for the company.
1,000%. And we have an alumni program where either you leave and you become the ambassador, or I let you go, which has to happen at times. But before I let you go, I already have in mind 3 companies that we can see if there's another opportunity for, a better opportunity for you. So we have a whole list of places that we can share, network people with. And of course, if a leader knows of someone working there, then it's easier to get that person an interview.
Yeah, that's really important. How do you see the new trends? Because you have it very clearly in your culture, and we can understand it very perfectly. But how do you see the trends on human resources, the employer branding, the trends in recruitment? What's your perspective? What's your take on it?
So the trend in recruitment is, if you're not recruiting for diverse candidates, then you're not recruiting. That's the first thing. That if in America for sure, that we must have representation from everywhere, all different types of people. That is the first thing I would say, especially if you're in an industry like we're in, which is advertising, where we're marketing to the macrocosm of consumers who look like me, look like you, look like him, look like her. And so we need to make sure that we know how to approach those multicultural consumers that we have. So that's the first thing, I think. I think the second thing in HR is, I believe that we need to become more like coaches than, and we talked about this a second ago, more like, I am here to make this the best decision of your life, make this the best career, and together we're going to create, Pedro, to be your best self. In 3 years, you won't recognize yourself. But we have to do that together. And so that's learning and development. That's making sure we have the right resources for you and that we're putting you in the right place to succeed. And by the way, you're giving it your all to succeed, because I can't do it just for you, right?
Yeah. Right.
And you're showing a little sweat also. But I do think HR is, we need to rebrand HR, and we need to turn ourselves into coaches. We need to obviously become much better at giving feedback to one another. And I'm speaking more so in America, but not so afraid of telling someone the truth.
Yeah, at least here in Europe, we talk a lot about giving feedback, because people are always complaining about the lack of feedback. But on the other hand, when they get feedback, they also complain about the feedback they have. So
it's six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know how how. I don't know where a person nets out there, but at the end of the day, if you want to succeed at this company, these are the things that are required of you, and this is how you can go above and beyond. And I think you have to be very clear with your people on expectations, roles, and responsibilities, and also what I'm going to do to help you get there.
Yeah, that's why you do a lot of mentorship and coaching with all of your employees.
I think that's really all I do, if you think about it. I mean, once you double click into each and every individual, it's different, but it's all, how do we make this the best experience for you and for us?
And do people know how to answer it immediately, or you have to pull and put some questions over questions to pull the answers?
Yeah, I often think it depends on A, someone's self-awareness, and B, someone's experience in a working environment. Because if you're coming straight from university into a working environment, you don't have that, you don't have the language necessarily. But then, then again, we have some 19-year-olds that work with us that are way beyond, way beyond, just so on it. So it just depends on that, on the individual, of how much work we do.
Yeah. Well, I have here another question for you from Aline. It's a comment. Aline, good evening and thank you for watching. She asked, with the COVID situation, we are seeing a lot of companies doing layoffs, and as you talked a while ago, while she understands the business need of that decision, she also feels that this kind of decision will dictate for decades the brands of companies. How do you feel about this?
I understand, and thank you for the question. I believe it's in the delivery of that message, is whether or not your brand has an opportunity to rebound. So how honest are you with the entire company of where you are financially, what the forecast looks like for the rest of the year, what you're doing aside from letting people go, what else are you doing to cut costs, to make sure that this isn't just a people issue, travel and expenses, leadership development, food in the kitchen, all of those things, technology platforms. You have to be able to look everywhere and under every rock, but you must communicate this to your people. Otherwise, I do think the brand could be tarnished with that. Well, it was COVID hit and they just laid people off.
Yeah.
That's not what we did at all. But you have to have the right leadership in place to feel like the people are getting the right information, so that they can also carry that brand, throughout their days, and be proud. No one likes saying goodbye to their people. No. Not not me. It's not a good day for anyone. But it can be a better day depending on the message that you send. That's what
That's a key point and goes directly to what you talked about a while ago, which is trust. And trust has to do with transparency and the way you communicate things to your employees.
Yeah, 1,000%. And so if you treat your employees as though they can't handle the truth, well, then I don't know what to say about that. But if you treat your employees like that, then they're not going to get the truth, and then you're going to have a really terrible brand in 10 years' time, in 5 years' time, when this all comes to pass. And my hope is that we can continue to feel our humanity, remind ourselves that we are all in this together, and take a risk. Take a risk. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, we can fall and we'll get up again.
Yeah, we'll get up again. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a moment of truth for many companies?
I do, big time. Not only is it a moment of truth, I think it's a moment of, again, walking the walk. But who are you? Who are you, company? You know, when you see a Facebook or a Twitter saying immediately, okay, we're not going to have anyone go back in the office until 2021. Yeah. We're not going to do any types of live events until 2022. They are choosing to protect their employees and their brand immediately. You know, those are enormous companies that we all touch every single day. That's a very big statement that I think really helps their brand appeal, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I have a quick question here from Pedro from LinkedIn. He asks you, what's your secret weapon for being empathetic?
I love it. You don't even have to read the rest. I can see it here. Gosh, you know, Pedro, my secret weapon is I remember two things. One, I want to be treated the same way you the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I want to treat you like I want you to treat me, which is honest and fair, and obviously respectful. And so if I remember that there is no difference, we each have blood running through our systems here. There's no real difference. Then I say to myself, okay, what's good for me holistically is most likely good for Pedro. Most likely, right? I mean, unless I'm an alien. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. The first thing that I just remember, like, we're all breathing the same type of oxygen here, you know. And the second thing that I remember is, for me, having a generous heart and having a generous spirit is what I would like on my tombstone at the end of the day. And I know that the rest will take care of itself. You know what I mean? When you trust yourself, and when I know that when I'm talking and when I'm speaking, it's the real deal. You know, what you see is what you get. So I don't have to worry about one day, oh God, I'm not as assertive as I should have been today, but tomorrow I will be. Like, I can trust the fact that that I will balance out all the time. And also my job is to infuse empathy into this organization while making sure that everyone knows we work for a company that has to stay afloat. So it's easy for me to say, okay, well, I'm always going to be heart. That's who I am. That's just my nature. And I have to remind people that, okay, we're not sticky, ooey gooey honey. You know, the heart is the strongest organ we have in our body. It's strong. It's assertive. You know, it runs us. And so I feel like that's a big metaphor, but basically I stay true to who I am and remind myself that I am working for VaynerMedia, and this is what they need me to do every day.
Yeah, it's true. I heard one of your talks. I think it was an interview you gave in which you said that sometimes you have to balance the honey with the vinegar.
Oh.
It depends on which Gary and you were talking.
We have to definitely balance one another out, but also, that saying, some days I have to do the harder job of having those very, very hard conversations with people, letting people go, those types of things. And but I know at the end of the day, when I put my head on the pillow, that I came from a good place. I came from a good place, and I credit my family for giving me the ability to feel with my heart.
Great. And Nuno was asking you a question that goes kind of in this direction, which is how do you balance empathy and emotional support of your employees or colleagues with pragmatism and tough decisions?
It's what we've been talking about, Nuno, and it is making sure that our employees know why we have to make these decisions. And so, with a couple of questions earlier, Mrs. David asked that question of, I mean, how is your brand going to be remembered if you have to do these layoffs? Well, you have to be a responsible leader and sharing with people the why. We all know the how. Why do you have to cut costs? Okay, well, we're in COVID and we lost 3 different clients, or this, that, and the other, whatever. And so these are the things we need to do, and this is how we're going to do them. So that's how, you have to find that balance between the most important thing is that the company doesn't go under. Okay, that's very pragmatic. What are we going to do? What are we going to do to make sure that that doesn't happen? We're going to work as hard as we possibly can. We're going to be very smart. We're going to look under every single rock to see if there's another way to cut costs before we have to let someone go. Now, by the way, that doesn't mean that we're never going to let someone go because of their performance, because we are. And as we said, we want strong performers, and there will come a time where either that strong performer dips or we hire someone and we were just never able to get them here. And that's when we'll help them with the alumni program find a better place for them.
Yeah. Wow. That's a great view of how you make things work. Tell me, what were the first 3 things you did when you had to react to the COVID situation?
Yeah, gosh, because it was triage.
Yeah.
The first thing
you can share with us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first thing I did was I got a very good understanding of the anxiety that people had in the U.S. So, what was the anxiety? What were they afraid of? Obviously, they were afraid of getting the COVID, but what were they afraid of in our building and in our office? And so I listened, back to listening and acting. I listened, and then we put together a document, which were kind of the guidelines of working from home. But after I listened, immediately I went straight to, okay, I checked in with Gary. Okay, starting today, you're working from home. Take your laptop, take your charger, take whatever it is you need. We trust you. You're going to go home. So it was literally listening, communicating, and then writing documentation and over communicating, every single day for, I would say, 4 weeks. They heard from me either every day or every other day. They were tired by that time.
Almost real time.
Oh, almost real time, just on Slack. Or at 9 a.m. New York time, I would have a meeting with all of the leaders to let them know what I was about to do, because then they had to go carry that to their teams.
Yeah.
And then I would, put out different messages for parents, because obviously none of us have childcare now. We're all homeschooling our children, and I have a little toddler who climbs on me all the time.
I know.
Yeah. So, but those were the three things. I listened, reacted, and over communicated.
Okay, yeah, but it was very quick action. Yeah.
The minute we knew, we went. I mean, the minute we knew, and the day before, or 2 days before, we actually decided to start having everyone work from home. There was one person in particular on Slack who just literally had an anxiety attack all over Slack.
Oh.
And it was too soon. So I sent him home.
Yeah.
Immediately. He needed to go home because he wasn't helping himself nor helping anyone else in the office.
Yeah. Wow. So we have many stories here of companies who reacted too slowly to the events, and that can bring some consequences too. We'll see more ahead. But you talked about culture, and culture is the main pillar of your success, not only in the role you have at VaynerMedia, but also the company and Gary's role at the company. And we have here a question, because we feel it in Portugal, that the most difficult thing to change in a company is culture. So what would be your advice? How can we change effectively a company's culture? Where do we start?
So there's maybe a few things I would suggest, depending on where you are in the process or depending on your hierarchy.
Okay.
So one, data will always help. Having data. So how do you get data? You send surveys out.
Yeah.
What is it that people want? What is it they love about the culture? What do they wish they had more of? And I'm not talking, more cerveza or more ping pong. I'm talking what do they want? What do they want? So you get the information and you bring that to the powers that be. And that's going to be your CEO or your president or your board. Here you go. Because at the end of the day, what do you want to do? You want to retain top talent.
Yeah.
You want to bring people in. So show data. That's always a great thing. And see if you can prove your case that way. But the other thing I always say, especially if up above you're getting a no and they're like, nah, not interested. Remember that culture change in communities starts on the fringes, way back here. It starts very, very small. And think about the music scene, or think about the art movements in the world, or think about the dance movements. These weren't things. I always refer to Andy Warhol, the pop artist who did this. He didn't just wake up one day and paint a tomato can and he was famous. He started years ago, and he tried many different things, and slowly but surely that came into the mainstream. He found people like him, and they started and they built this movement, and one day it was in the mainstream. Culture change does start small, and it does start on the fringes a lot of the time. Not all the time, of course, but think of your favorite musician who's playing at a small bar. Or not today, of course, but and then you bring that to the powers that be, because at the end of the day, you need culture to be blessed from the top. You do.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing, but you see it in governments, right? We see it in our government right now, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you spoke about the data, because most of the times we see a lot of perception about what people want, and our leaders think that people want some things, but in the end, when we go to the data, the reality is completely different from perception.
Yeah. You know what people really want? They want to be recognized. They want to be valued. They want growth. They want recognition. They want a purpose.
Yeah.
Those are the things. They don't want to be micromanaged. They don't want to be distrusted, and so it's not difficult once you see those things right in front of you, and then you can figure out, well, how am I going to do that? Okay, they want to grow, learn and development. Oh, I should put some learning and development. I should make a curriculum for them.
Yeah.
Find people that can train them.
Yeah. It's more simple than we might have.
It is, and I don't want to make it seem like it's not a challenge, because it is, and there are companies, especially potentially, not in the areas that I'm in, that really struggle with this. But we have to change. Now is the time to make these changes. Now is the time, before we're all in the offices again.
Yeah.
Do
you think that when we all go back to the offices, are we going to a new world, a new normality as we are listening, or we're going back to business as usual?
I don't think we can go back to business as usual. I don't think the world will let us do that. I think that
you won't.
Yeah. Well, I think we needed a reboot. The economy needed a reboot. The scales of power needed a reboot. I think leadership has needed a reboot for a very long time. The fact that we're having these conversations right now, and for me, it's very simple, just because it's like who I am inside, and I've been very honored to have this role where I can share my points of view. But I know it's not simple for everyone. I know, because of the atmosphere, the environment that they work in. And what I want to just say to everyone is that change really does start with each and every person. Let's not wait for someone to change it. Let's start to change it. Start to have those conversations with people.
Yeah. And this is probably a conversation we should be having a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a conversation we should have every day.
Yeah.
Not to get lazy once you get there.
True. It's an ongoing conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have a question from YouTube, from Jesus, and he says, "Good evening, hi Jesus. I heard Claude talking about before the company goes under, and my question is, after reaching that breaking point, how can we moralize our coworkers into getting up again?"
Okay. Thank you, Jesus. So I think we need to go back to what I was just saying in terms of, what do human beings need? Like, what do human beings need just as a human being before you even go into the workplace? You need safety, you need shelter, and you need security.
Yeah.
And then you need belonging. You need people who want to feel like they belong. So safety, you have to create psychological and physical safety with your employees. There are many, many ways to not do that, and there are a few ways to do that. And one of the ways to do that is by listening. One of the ways to do that is by not shoving authority down their necks. One of the ways to do that is by showing up and being real and vulnerable and communicating, and creating a place where people feel like they can be whomever they are. They don't have to look like you. They can look like that person. They can blah, blah, blah. Let them be their unique selves. And then, and that contributes to belonging, and making sure that people feel like there's a place for them. And not only belonging, but you need me. I matter to you. I matter. You need me. These are things that are very fundamental to humans, and there's no difference between what's fundamental to me today and what's fundamental to me when I go into an office. And we're the same people, and again, going back to autonomy and giving people a sense of purpose, and growth and feedback, those types of things. So there's no difference to me between 5 months ago when we were all in our offices, what I needed then and what I need today. It's the same.
Yeah, the context is different, but the needs are very similar. So
Yeah.
I think that probably what I feel, what I missing the most is the proximity with people.
It's so hard, isn't it?
Yes.
It's hard. I mean, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. But I miss the vibration of people and the texture of what the room feels like when someone walks in, and what the energy is that they bring. And we all are missing that. We're all missing that.
And I saw and I heard that you are an excellent reader when you walk into a room. You like to read the room, the energy, and to feel you like hugging, touching, and I miss that a lot. So I think that gave me a month ago. I started feeling a little anxious about that, about missing the touch with people. Do you miss that? How do you cope with that?
Yeah, so I started missing it the first week. I really missed it, and I surprised myself. I thought, well, I'd like a little peace and quiet, but no, I missed it. And so what I started to do was I started to do these daily meetings with random people from different departments and different offices. We would all get on, Zoom or whatever. We all have the same size square. And for 20 to 30 minutes, we would just talk about our experience. We would do some, a nice fun icebreaker, like what's the karaoke song you would sing, or, who would you have on your talk show if you were a talk show host? Those just to normalize things. We got to laugh, and people got to meet one another. And so I've been doing those daily. I call them 12 at 12s. And it just gives me so much warmth. And what I love, of course, is to see people jamming together, to see people, oh my God, you play the drums. You that live in Singapore, you play the drums? I play the drums too. I'm in California, whatever.
That's great.
I love it, yeah.
I have a lot of questions, but we are almost reaching the time, and I'm going to choose, I think, the best question I have here for you, and I think you will agree.
Okay.
Which is from Aline. Aline says, 50 minutes already gone. And she says, please share with us a story about.
Oh, thank you, Aline. This is who I was saying, Mrs. David. David. I have a 19-month-old daughter who is the best ever. The story, I have so many stories with her, but yesterday I put her in the driver's seat with me, thinking that, she would just touch some buttons. But what she ended up doing was she touched the ignition button, and she knew to put her hand, she's watched me, put her hand and take it out of park. So she keeps me on my feet. I love her. I love her so much. I'm a much later in life mom. And, I thought I had such a ability to love prior to her. And I didn't realize that once you have children of your own, or maybe pets also, you have a whole nother chamber of your heart that opens up that's just for them. And, she's incredible. She puts on all of this jewelry. I don't even know where she gets the jewelry. She finds it in our cabinets and walks around with jewelry on. And I love her. And I realize that everything I do is for her now. Everything.
Yeah. And you said it all, because when we have children of our own, it's a completely new way of loving. It's completely different.
Yeah. So thank you for the question. It was wonderful.
Thank you for sharing. I know it's personal, but it's.
I would have talked to you about personal things for the whole hour.
I believe it.
Next time. I really appreciate everyone's question. I understand we're in a really, we're just in a very, a brave new world. It's a new world.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. I would ask you just if you have a couple of words that you would love to share with leaders. Now is the moment, because as you said, this is a moment of truth. We are going to challenging times, so the floor is yours for a couple of minutes, and please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So what I would say is, let's try to never assume that we know what another person is going through. I think that we need to be brave enough to ask people, how can I help? How can I support you? What can I take off of your plate? Do you need to take a half an hour off? Do you need to step away? So we never want to assume what someone's reality is like, because today, I mean, while we are all human beings and we're all going through such similar times and we have similar needs, our realities are very different. Our realities of being at home are very different, and what our environments are like. So please extend as much empathy as you possibly can, and kindness and tenderness to others.
Thank you so much for the message, Claude. It was really a pleasure to have you here in this live talk. Hope we can meet in a near future in person, either in Portugal or there in the United States. And thank you again for being here.
Obrigado. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Guys, this was our live. I'll be back next Thursday, and tomorrow I'll be sharing with you who is our next guest. Thank you so much for being here with us. Bye-bye.
Bye.